Okay, hi everyone. Just doing a bit of a video tour of my Suzuki EV, which I'm looking to sell. I've got quite a busy family life going on now, and when I started this project, I didn't have any kids and I had lots of time to burn doing this thing, and I was very passionate about it and put a lot of effort into it. But now, it's a great tinker toy, but unfortunately, I need to make some room for family and to give myself a bit of headspace for family as well. So I'm just going to give this video tour and explain what I've done here. So, obvious one, get it out of the way. Vacuum pump for operating the brakes, and a vacuum cylinder which holds vacuum in there so that the pump doesn't have to go all the time and constantly. This is the motor controller. It's a NetGain Classic motor controller. It was 500 amp capacity initially, though I think it was 2000, upgradable by software to 2000 amps, which is pretty huge. If you can get hold of the software upgrade for that, well above what I was ever looking at doing with this car. But that's got that capacity, so it's overkill. And there are a few things with the car that I've done that are overkill, so that it can be upgraded, enhanced later on if needs be. This is the charger. It is programmed for 145 volts lithium. So that's that charger. It charges at about 15 amps at its highest, 15 amps at 145 volts. So it will go on a 10 amp plug, no problems. It takes it right up to 8, 9 amps, something like that, without throwing the fuse. So it's designed that way. This is a water cooling unit, which cools the motor controller. Again, for this car, probably not so essential, but it's got the water cooling, so I put it on, and that's that unit there. You can even dial in different fan speeds there if you're really into it. Comes up in a nice, I think it's like a fluorescent blue from memory, the top of that one that's running. There's my VAS. Let's try and get that in focus. That's my VAS certificate, engineer certificate, when I had the car engineered to be on the road. I'm also running a 12 volt system. That's a 12 volt lithium battery. I intend to keep that when I sell the car because that was brand new, and I've got some other uses for it. But that's just a 12 volt battery. You can use a lead acid battery in its place as well if you like. I'll go under the car now. Just get me a little wheelie thing. All right, here we go. So, something that's quite different in my design, which turned out to be a great handling asset, is I've suspended the batteries underneath the car. This is just some steel strapping going over the top of them, just to hold them in place. But so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 compartments just suspending the batteries. And when the car's on the road running, this is all covered by an aluminium sheet so that they don't get mess on them, and so they're a bit protected. These trays are very, very strong. They're 50 by 50 mil steel. There was a requirement in the Victorian system whereby to prevent batteries being strewn everywhere in a rollover, they had to withhold a certain amount of G-forces, way beyond what your normal lead acid battery would be held down by, quite ironically. But basically I put these racks in and I suspended huge barrels of water off them, and yeah, I think I can't remember, it was like 150 litres, something like that. I've got video of me doing that, which I'm happy to supply, but overkill on the engineering there. They are not going anywhere at all. Right, halfway through the pack, I've got a fuse. It is just reading it now, 500 amp fuse, which was required for the VAS certificate. It's about halfway through the battery array, so it splits the batteries in half too, so if there's an accident or something, and that becomes a thing, it also splits the pack in half, which makes it safer. Here are all the cells at the top here. You can see little green lights indicating the batteries are healthy. The reason you can only see every second is because the other light is down just underneath here. You can sort of just see that one. Yeah. So there's the batteries being suspended underneath with their protection chips or their shunts on them. Now I mentioned a BMS I'll go up the front here. So the reason I'm not driving it at the minute, this first cell, I don't know if I can get that in focus at all. So the first cell is just there. If you think I'm being a bit loose with the safety, the battery pack is actually split in half at the moment, so I'm not going to electrocute myself. That first cell there vented on me. And I think there's no BMS on this, and really that's what I should have done. I should have installed a battery management system. And I would recommend, if you buy this car and you're a tinkerer, put a BMS on it. I think this first cell in the string gets the most pressure under load, and that's the second cell I've gone through just on the first, whereas the rest of them are all okay. Yeah, so I'd put a BMS on. I'm going to go down here and show you the drive shaft. So this is the diff here, obviously uni joint, and this is a custom made drive shaft. It's a two-piece drive shaft. You can see it's hooked on there, and then further in front, drive shaft. I'll see if I can get it up. And there you go. You can see where it's hooked into the motor there. I don't think I can stick the light on this thing. Let's see. Light? No, it won't let me turn the light on. See if I can get that a bit better for you. You can probably just see the circle. Yeah, so custom drive shaft for a direct drive system. I did have the transfer case in the car originally, and I wanted to try that basically on high range. It gave me 1-to-1, and on low range it gave me I can't remember the ratio now, but it basically made it easier to maneuver around car parks and things at slow speed. I got rid of that though. I found it wasn't necessary, and the engineer I had do the coupling, he just didn't get it accurate enough, and so there was a slight vibration there, which was a problem. I wanted to get rid of that. So this new drive shaft is actually yoked and splined, and it is as smooth as silk now. That was about $1,600 worth, that drive shaft. Oh, here's the, yeah, so there's a yoke and spline there, so that can move up and down as the diff goes up and down. I was very happy with that design, again, because it just made it so smooth. So that's the drive shaft. That was about $1,600 worth. The batteries are about $4,500. The motor controller was about $2.5 US. Hang on, I did write this down for this video. Yeah, it was $2,500 US. So maybe $3,000 for that once it was shipped into country and through customs and all that. The charger was about $600. The motor was $2,700, and this was all brand new. So there's a lot of money just in the parts. And I know there's probably people out there who might be interested in it and take it apart for parts and use the car that way. I'd be a little bit sad if that was to happen, because I put so much effort into this design, and it handles so much better than the original car on the road. So, I'd like to see all that work go forward, and I really want the car to go to someone who's enthusiastic about EVs. I've got a passion for the environment, but my work life is getting busy. But I'm also starting to get into the position where I'm probably going to buy a production EV in the not too distant future as well. So, I'm in a different stage of my life to when I was when I started making this car. This is one of the aluminium plates that I can supply with. They fit underneath and protect all the batteries from, road, crud, spooge, rain, whatever. You'll notice here that you can see right through to the floor. There is a plate that goes at the front here as well that fits in there nicely. Incidentally, this big cavity here, so like half the engine bay, is a space you could put batteries as well to expand the battery pack, and there's some mount points here and there as well, so it wouldn't be too hard to do. I should have mentioned as well, at the back here there's a cavity for the fuel tank, where the fuel tank used to live. Loads of space for extra batteries. The reason I suspended them there was for handling. Nice central, as low as can be, as central as can be actually. So they're good for handling. But I always intended this additional space could harbour some extra batteries. What else? I did rig this up as a place you could charge it from. I'm not using it at the minute. What happened? Cheap Chinese electrical connection I had in there melted. Supposed to be 10 amp. I forget what we call them now. You know, the kettle plug type thing. Supposed to be 10 amps, and the bloody thing melted. Obviously couldn't take 10 amps. So I need to replace that. But I just charge it from the front here at the minute. You know, that's really not a big deal to hook that back up. Inside the car, bear with me. All pretty much looks as normal. This is the interface, which I paid another $250, 300 odd bucks for, which allows me to see everything the controller's doing, like current voltage, battery voltage, motor voltage, battery amps, motor amps. I can limit the current going through. I can see any diagnostic errors on here. You can do all sorts of stuff with that, and as you're driving along you can really see what the motor's doing. So that's it. Forward and reverse. Forwards, yeah, that's pretty simple. I actually made another switch, so you got to flick this one as well. And the reason I did that was just, you know, I'd hate for someone to bump that into reverse as you're driving along. I thought that could be bad, so I made like a safety switch for that up here. There's a light which comes on if the brake vacuum is not adequate. Just a warning light. It's got an immobilizer. Basically, you touch this bolt here and turn the key, and you hear a little faint click, and that stops anyone from stealing the car. I didn't even lock the thing at my work. No one would be able to thief it anyway. So yeah, that's about it. I've got the back seats. Obviously the roof's not on at the minute. I quite like driving it around without the roof on, and it doesn't rain all that often here really anyway. So, well, I mean, temperate climate, but you know, most days you can take it for a drive, no worries. I do have the roof. It would withstand, you know, a smaller amount of rain, but torrential rain, it's that age where it would leak. You can replace them. There's a white ones on eBay for 250 bucks, or yeah, there's black ones as well. Anything else to mention? I don't think so. I think that's it. Reversing contactor there, because obviously there's no reverse gear as such, so the motor has to turn the other way. So there's a reversing contactor and a main contactor down here. I'll give you a shot of the front of the motor. That's my motor mount. It's mounted on the original rubber engine mountings with this plate. There's no power takeoffs there. Obviously you could use that to power something if you wanted to. Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully that answers a lot of the questions. I was getting quite peppered on Facebook there, and hopefully that answers the bulk of those questions. So enjoy.